beneath the endless, shifting sands of the great desert. Where the sun scorches the earth and mirages dance on the horizon, lies a secret buried by millennia. Legends whisper of it, carried on the wind like grains of sand, a city of gold and ghosts, swallowed by the earth, waiting to be found. They call it Zerzura, the oasis of little birds, a phantom metropolis that has lured explorers and dreamers to their doom for centuries. Our story begins not with a map of treasure, but with a fragment of a forgotten language. It was discovered on a clay tablet, unearthed from a minor excavation site far from any known civilization. For years, it baffled linguists. The symbols were unlike any script ever recorded, a complex tapestry of celestial alignments and geometric patterns. Dr. Aris Torney, a reclusive historian with a penchant for lost causes, was the only one who saw not just a dead language, but a living map. Thorne spent a decade in self-imposed exile, cross-referencing the tablet symbols with star charts from antiquity, geological surveys, and the half-remembered folklore of desert nomads. He believed the symbols weren't words in the traditional sense, but coordinates. They described a location, not on the surface, but asterisk below asterisk it, pinpointing a massive geological anomaly, hollow space deep beneath the dunes, large enough to house a city. He theorized that the ancient architects of Zerzura didn't just build asterisk on asterisk. The land, they commanded it. Armed with his radical theory and a lifetime of ridicule from his peers, Thorne assembled a small, specialized team. There was Kenji, a brilliant geophysicist who could read the Earth's whispers through ground-penetrating radar. And there was Zara, a desert guide whose ancestors had roamed these sands for generations, carrying stories of a place where the sun sets twice. They were a trio of outcasts, bound by an impossible obsession. Their journey began at the edge of the known world. Days bled into weeks. The desert was a formidable guardian, testing their resolve with blinding sandstorms and disorienting heat. Their equipment began to falter under the extreme conditions. The GPS was unreliable, and communication with the outside world became a distant memory. They had only Thorne's celestial calculations and Zara's uncanny instincts to guide them. One evening, as the sky bled into hues of purple and orange, Zara stopped. She pointed towards a peculiar rock formation, a series of 7 pillars carved by the wind into silent sentinels. The elders spoke of this place, she said, her voice low. They called it the Sun's Gate. They said it was a marker for a path that no longer exists. Kenji immediately set up his radar. The initial readings were disappointing, just miles of solid bedrock. Doubt began to creep into the camp, but Thorne, tracing the patterns on his weathered replica of the tablet, urged him to recalibrate, to look deeper. They wouldn't have built a gate to nowhere, he insisted. The entrance isn't a door, it's a key. He directed Kenji a scan towards the precise shadow cast by the central pillar at the exact moment of twilight. As the last sliver of sun vanished, the radar screen, once a monotonous green, flickered wildly. A structure appeared, a perfect spiral, descending deep into the earth. It was a staircase, hidden in plain sight, its entrance camouflaged by geology and celestial alignment. They had found it. The entrance was a narrow fissure, barely wide enough for one person, concealed behind a loose slab of rock at the base of the pillar. A cool, ancient air, devoid of the desert's heat, rushed out to greet them, carrying a scent of dust, ozone, and something else. Something metallic and strange. One by one, they descended into the darkness, their headlamps cutting fragile beams through the oppressive black. The spiral staircase seemed to go on forever, its steps worn smooth by the passage of time, or perhaps by something else. The walls were not rough-hewn stone, but a polished, obsidian-like material that seemed to absorb the light. Intricate carvings covered every surface, depicting not scenes of life or war, but complex star systems and what looked like blueprints for unimaginable technologies. This was not just a city. It was the cradle of a lost science. After what felt like an eternity, the staircase opened into a cavern so vast their lights couldn't find the walls or ceiling. A soft, ethereal luminescence emanated from the city below, casting long, haunting shadows. Zerzura, It was not a ruin. It was perfectly preserved, as if its inhabitants had simply vanished a moment ago. Towers of gleaming, opalescent material pierced the gloom, connected by delicate, crystalline bridges. Waterways, now dry, snaked through plazas paved with tiles that shifted in color as they walked. The architecture was fluid, organic, seeming to grow out of the very rock of the cavern. There were no sharp angles, only graceful curves that followed some unknown principle of cosmic geometry. But the most unsettling feature was the silence, a profound, absolute silence that was more deafening than any noise. As they ventured deeper, they discovered the source of the city's faint light. At its center stood a colossal, crystalline structure, a spire that pulsed with a gentle, internal blue-white energy. It hummed, a low, resonant frequency that they felt in their bones more than they heard with their ears. Kenji's instruments went haywire, the needles spinning uncontrollably. "The energy output is impossible," he stammered. "It's not nuclear, not geothermal. It's something else entirely." Thorn, entranced, approached the central spire. Carved at its base was a single, familiar symbol from the Tabletha, one he could never decipher. As he reached out to touch it, the symbol flared with light. The hum intensified, and a wave of energy pulsed through the city. All around them, the air shimmered. Holographic projections flickered to life, filling the empty streets with ghostly figures. They were little slender beings. Clad in robes of light, they moved with an unearthly grace, their faces serene and unreadable. They weren't ghosts of the past, but recordings, a library of moments captured in time. The team watched, breathless, as the projections reenacted the city's final moments. There was no panic, no invasion, no disaster. There was only a ritual. The beings gathered at the central spire. They raised their hands in unison, and the energy from the crystal intensified, bathing them in its brilliant light. One by one, they didn't die. They dissolved, their physical forms breaking down into particles of light that were absorbed into the crystal. It wasn't an end. It was a transcendence. Migration. They had abandoned their physical shells, converting their consciousness into pure energy, embedding themselves within the city's perpetual power source. Suddenly, a new projection formed directly in front of Thorn. It was a single figure, distinct from the others. It turned its head slowly, its shimmering eyes seeming to look right through him. It raised a hand, not in warning, but in invitation. A new symbol ignited at the base of the crystal pathway, an offer to join them. Thorn stood mesmerized. This was the ultimate discovery, a leap beyond history, beyond humanity itself. Bazara grabbed his arm, her eyes wide with a primal fear. "Eris, no," she pleaded. "This place was not meant to be found. This is not our path." The city's hum grew louder, more insistent, a siren song promising knowledge and eternity. The air crackled with power, and the exit, the spiral staircase they had descended, began to groan, the stones shifting as if the entrance were closing. They had a choice: to embrace an unknowable future within the heart of Zazura, or to flee back to the world they knew, to the sun and the sand, forever haunted by the secret they had uncovered. The decision was made in a frantic, heart-pounding retreat, scrambling back up the endless stairs as the city's siren call faded behind them. They emerged from the fissure, gasping, into the cold desert night, just as the stone slab ground shut, sealing the entrance once more. The 7 pillars stood silent, as if nothing had happened. There was no evidence of their discovery, nothing to show the world. They were left with only a story that no one would ever believe. They returned, not as heroes, but as ghosts themselves, changed forever by the profound silence and ethereal light of the city under the sand. Zazura remains, waiting in its timeless slumber, its inhabitants, dreaming within their crystal heart. It is a secret the desert will keep, a mystery that reminds us that the greatest discoveries are not those that rewrite our history, but those that challenge the very definition of what it means to be alive. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you are captivated by the mystery of Zerzura, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. There are many more secrets waiting in the shadows, and we'll be here to explore them together. Until next time, keep questioning.